Welcome back to part 4 of this series about what and how and even why essential oils and aroma point therapy can transmute unproductive conflict in our experience. And this could be the fallout that we experience inside of ourselves watching conflict outside of ourselves, which is very, very painful and very, very real. And it can also be transmuting any kind of internal unproductive conflict that we might experience at any time as we move throughout our day. This next oil that wants to speak to us is Marjoram, the Great Pacifier. Marjoram, the Great Pacifier. And, oh gosh, there's so much. Marjoram is particularly powerful when it comes to shifting the embodiments in ourselves, the embodiments of defensiveness, denial, and overcompensating body armoring. Defensiveness, denial, and overcompensating body armoring. On a physical level, marjoram relaxes muscle. It relaxes muscle tissue. It's a muscle relaxer. So even just, when I ran my clinic, putting marjoram on the top of the traps right here, to light touch, holding that. By the way, I love this as just a technique. If you're feeling in conflict and you're feeling tense and you're clenching your jaw and you're tightening your shoulders, just giving yourself this hug with marjoram. I hope the mic is still catching me there. Giving yourself this hug with marjoram, light touch, and just feeling your traps dissolve. Because our body reflects what's already happening at the level of the subconscious and then the conscious. Like, the body doesn't lie. My pulse-taking mentor, Lonnie Jarrett, used to say, the people lie, the pulses don't. People lie, the pulses don't. And it's so true. I think most of the time we don't mean to lie. We actually just get really good at denial. We get really good at defensiveness, and we get good at avoiding certain things within ourselves that we don't want to feel or see, or in other people that we don't want to feel or see. And that requires energy, requires mental energy and physical energy to wall off parts of ourselves from ourselves. So when we have walled off parts within ourselves, it creates a kind of tension. And it's the tension that's required to maintain separateness within a system that was designed to have flow and interpenetration. Now, this isn't to say we don't have boundaries within our body. Clearly we do. We have boundaries of cells, we have boundaries of our bones, we have boundaries of our organs. And for every boundary, there's very specialized forces, if you will, that exist to move within and without, or outside of that boundary. Within our cells, certain things move in, certain things move out. But it's specific. It has a plan. It has an intelligence to it. When we have I think this might be the best. Normally I offer this up in a much bigger teaching, but I want to share a little piece of it here. It's psychosomatic cysts. So when we form a cyst around something, we wall off material in our psyche or in our soma, in our body. Because, by the way, it couldn't be processed at the time that it happened. That's the most common reason why we create psychosomatic cysts. But if those cysts stay in our experience, and the boundary doesn't dissolve, we have all of these interruptions in flow. Chi flow, blood flow, lymph flow can't move freely because there's these cysts in the way. It takes energy to maintain these separate cysts in a system that wants to have healthy movement and dynamic flow and specific intelligence around barriers. Boundaries, barriers. So this particular tension that mounts in the psyche or in the physical body, in the soma, is by its very nature tense. That's how we can identify it. It's tense. So how this might manifest it, or you might become aware of it within the psyche, is somebody says something to you and you get really defensive really fast because how dare they think that about you and say that about you. Now, beyond whether what they said was right or wrong, beyond that, just noticing the defensiveness and the inflamed reactivity, it's because there's something there that it's touching on, something that you may not want to see about yourself or acknowledge about yourself, something that feels painful and tender. You haven't done anything wrong. These processes, I just want to tell you, like, the processes of denial and psychosomatic cyst formation, they are genius in and of themselves. They're self-protective measures that we have in place that allow us to survive what we've been through in our life. But this is what I love about marjoram so much, is because it provides a trans-rational, vibrational, loving, sensorial way for us to soften unnatural boundaries, unnatural, rigid boundaries within the soma or the psyche, so that we can be pacified. Not in the sense of being a wimp or weak or lacking courage. It's exactly the opposite. It's so that we can show up in more of the fullness of our power, because we can access all these different facets of our psyche. We can access all of these different facets of our soma. Yeah? Marjoram helps us to do that. So it relaxes the tension on either side of a resistance membrane, just relaxes and softens it, so that material can move and be assimilated and absorbed in its own way, in its own time. And you might have a question coming up right now, like, oh, Tiffany, if I use this, does this mean this traumatic material that I have walled off is going to flood into my system and I'm going to go into shock? No. And the reason why I say no is partly because I have a tremendous amount of clinical experience with this, but also too because the oils, the way they work, is very gentle. They work with the body's force. I will say, though, if you work with one of these oils, say this is speaking to you and you work with marjoram every day for a week, you might notice some material, some things, some memories coming into your awareness, titrated in just the right way for you. It doesn't mean that it's going to all be comfortable. Change is uncomfortable, right? Change is fundamentally, by its very nature, not very comfortable. So it might feel uncomfortable, but if you hold it within this perspective that this is part of the work of marjoram, and as this material is being released, and as the resistance on either side of these, the tension on either side of these resistance barriers is softening so that you can have access to more of your true power, then it definitely helps things. You can, when we can frame and contextualize our challenging experience, it gives us more room for breath. It gives us, it can lead the way in and of itself, right? It can, the bigger context for understanding your experience of suffering or challenge can actually be the thing that leads the way forward for you to merge with the next version of yourself that you are becoming through this very process of transmutation. What you will notice in working with marjoram is you become less defensive. If denial is something that you have actively going on, or when I say, I was going to say inactively, but what I mean is whether you're having it on a conscious level or an unconscious level, denial, you'll start to have more of a witness relationship to it. You will be less inclined to deny. Just energetically and otherwise, you'll be less inclined. Marjoram is one of the most powerful oils that I know of for people coming home to themselves, and I'm going to qualify that, particularly people who have formed highly acute, almost hypersensitive, defensive or self-protective mechanisms because of childhood trauma. So the place that I want to share with you, and this is a powerful point combination. This is my, looks like such a blingy watch. This is my Seiko that my husband just gave me for my birthday, and I'm loving it. It's a man's watch. It's so fun to wear. Okay, so there are 2 points, and you can hold marjoram on these points at the same time, or you can do neroli on the inside and marjoram on the outside if you want. Try them both out and see how they are. So there's a point on the outside of the wrist, right here in the middle, that's called outer frontier gate. Outer frontier gate. It's part of your outermost boundary of protection. Outer frontier gate. And then right on the opposite side, in the inside of your wrist, right in the middle, this is approximately 2 inches down from the wrist crease, you have the inner frontier gate. So they're inside and outside. So you can, like I said, either take marjoram, and I usually do 25 to 50% strength, and you can hold marjoram on both points. You do one arm or one wrist and then the other. Or you can try putting both on the outer point and then both on the inner point at the same time. I've done both. Just see which feels the most comfortable for you. And notice what you notice in your experience. The most common thing that I hear is that people feel like their guard comes down, but in a good way, not in a way that's unhealthy, like the overactive, hypervigilant, maybe slightly paranoid guard that's always there looking and filtering and looking and filtering and projecting or blaming and all of these things that are distorted guard, let's call it that, our distorted guard can do. They soften, and our healthy guards come into play. Our healthy mind guards, our healthy emotional guards get resurrected. When we feel that we know how to, and in real time can healthfully protect ourselves and know our own mind and come into alignment with the truth of who we are, that is the resolution of conflict in real time. It doesn't mean that conflict ceases to exist, but it means that we enter into a dynamic flow with the energy of conflict so that we can, with more power, grace, ease, and conscious choice, land in and choose, because it's both, land in and choose that deepest, truest part of who we are, which I sometimes refer to as the peace that passes all understanding, the center fulcrum of who we are, that which cannot be moved, the steadiness of who we are and who we always have been. When we say that we want peace, in my experience, what we're really asking for is to be able to know ourselves as this and return to ourselves as this, no matter what the outside circumstances are. Beautiful. Marjoram The Great Pacifier. If you've enjoyed this, please do check out the Healing Oil Collective, Master Healer Academy by Tiffany Carroll. Take the journey with these oils. They are such powerful allies and tools. You know, the Aroma Point tools are such powerful, potent tools for us at this time. From my heart to yours, and I will see you next time in the next video.